Have you ever wondered, why do we sometimes feel like everything in life is slipping through our fingers, just beyond our control? Why does the fear of loss linger over us, even when we know some things aren't ours to hold on to forever? Could it be that we're holding on too tightly to things that don't really belong to us? And in doing so, we're creating our own suffering? Welcome to Stillness Unfolded, where we explore deep, meaningful philosophies that help us live with more peace and calm. In today's video, we'll dive into the concepts of impermanence and letting go. Together, we'll explore why we fear loss, why we cling to things we can't truly control, and most importantly, how we can free ourselves from these attachments to live more peacefully and freely. Stay with me as we unravel these Buddhist teachings and how they can be applied to our everyday lives for deeper understanding. If you find this video helpful and want more insightful content, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. You can also leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments below to help the channel grow and bring even more high-quality videos to you. Remember, this video is packed with valuable information, so be sure to watch all the way through to fully grasp the message. Our minds are just as elusive. Our minds, just like our bodies, are far from being fully under our control. Have you ever tried sitting in silence, simply observing your thoughts? You might find that they appear unexpectedly, like uninvited guests entering the room of your consciousness. They leap from one topic to another, with no pattern or warning. Some thoughts might feel comforting, others might stir unease or frustration, but regardless of their nature, they come and go as they please. And the more we try to control them, the more elusive they seem to become. This phenomenon is not just an isolated experience during meditation. It's part of our everyday mental landscape. Thoughts float in and out of our awareness, often without us even noticing their arrival. We cannot command them to stay or leave. Try to stop a stream of thoughts, and you will often find that they multiply instead of fading away. The more you try to silence your mind, the louder it becomes. This is the nature of our minds. They are unpredictable, uncontrollable, and constantly in flux. And this very nature is a reminder that we do not possess our thoughts. They are simply passing through us. The realization that we don't have control over our thoughts can be both humbling and unsettling. For many of us, this loss of control feels threatening because we derive a great deal of our identity from our thoughts. The thoughts we hold on to are often the foundation of how we see ourselves and the world. We think of them as our thoughts, as though they are permanent fixtures of our identity. But in truth, thoughts are transient. They arise, linger for a while, and eventually fade away, only to be replaced by new ones. They are not ours to own, and yet we cling to them as though they define who we are. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had a thought that you just couldn't shake off? Maybe it was a conversation you had, a mistake you made, or something someone said that cut deeper than you realized. You replay it over and over in your mind, as if by doing so, you could somehow resolve it, understand it better, or make it go away. The more you focus on it, the more it sticks, like a piece of lint caught in the fabric of your mind. It becomes a mental anchor, keeping you tethered to something that no longer serves you. It's like an uninvited guest that lingers far too long. This attachment to thoughts is a perfect example of how we try to control even the most intangible aspects of our lives. We believe that by holding on to them, we can make sense of the world or ourselves. But the truth is, the harder we grasp onto these thoughts, the more restless we become. Our attempts to control them only magnify their power over us. It's as if we are trying to hold water in our hands. The tighter we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers. And yet, we don't realize that this constant mental grip causes us suffering. We get caught in a loop of rumination, rehashing the same thoughts over and over, hoping that somehow the endless repetition will bring clarity. But clarity doesn't come from clinging. Instead, we create more mental chaos. It's a paradox. The more we try to control something that is inherently uncontrollable, the more we intensify our own anxiety. The more we try to command our thoughts, the more we get trapped in frustration. Have you ever felt the anxiety of not being able to turn off your mind, especially when you're trying to fall asleep? The harder you try to quiet your thoughts, the louder they get. The more you try to suppress your mind, the more restless you feel. This restless energy is the direct result of trying to assert control over something as fluid and transient as the thoughts themselves. This constant battle to hold on to our thoughts and control them only exacerbates our suffering. It is an exhausting struggle. By clinging to our thoughts, we inadvertently create a deeper sense of anxiety and discontent. The idea of owning our thoughts, just like our bodies or possessions, is an illusion. In the end, nothing in life truly belongs to us, not even the thoughts we think. They are not ours to possess, but simply experiences that pass through our consciousness, much like the breeze that moves through the trees. This realization is key to understanding how letting go can lead to peace. The more we allow thoughts to come and go without grasping onto them, the less they control us. We don't need to hold on to every thought to define ourselves. In fact, the act of letting go of this need for control is the first step toward true freedom. Our thoughts will still come, but we no longer need to attach our identities to them. We can simply observe them as they pass by, like clouds drifting across the sky. When we stop trying to control them, we discover a sense of freedom and stillness that was always there, waiting for us to let go. This is the Buddhist practice of mindfulness, being present without attachment, observing without judgment, and allowing ourselves to experience life without clinging. By observing our thoughts without becoming them, we can cultivate a deeper understanding of the transient nature of our minds and free ourselves from the suffering caused by our attempts to control them. Clinging, the root of our suffering. One of the deepest teachings in Buddhism is that attachment, or clinging, is the root of all suffering. In our daily lives, we cling to a vast array of things, objects, people, memories, and even ideas about ourselves. We often believe that these things are not just part of our lives, but that they define who we are. We think that by holding on to them, we create stability, security, and a sense of identity. However, the truth is much more liberating. Nothing in life truly defines us. These attachments, instead of bringing peace, only create suffering. Let's take a moment to reflect on relationships. In Buddhism, we are taught that love should not be about attachment. Love, in its purest form, is about freedom for both ourselves and others. But when we cling to someone, whether it's a romantic partner, a family member, or even a close friend, believing that they are ours to control or keep, we suffocate the relationship. We transform what could be a loving bond into a source of anxiety and fear. Think about it for a moment. When we hold on to someone too tightly, when we try to control their actions, their decisions, or even their feelings, we only create distance between us. The more possessive we become, the more we begin to push them away, even if we don't mean to. Love becomes something heavy and suffocating. We become anxious, afraid that the person we love might slip away, and this fear of loss distorts the very essence of the relationship. True love isn't about holding on. It's about allowing space for the other person to be free and for the relationship to grow without the chains of control. The more we grasp, the more we isolate ourselves from genuine connection. This principle also applies to our accomplishments and the success we achieve. Society often teaches us to celebrate our achievements, to hold on to the recognition we receive, and to chase after more success. But what happens when we become overly attached to success? The more we cling to the idea of success, fearing that it will be lost or overshadowed, the more anxiety we invite into our lives. We become obsessed with maintaining our achievements and status, rather than enjoying the process and the joy that comes with it. In my own life, I've seen this dynamic play out. There was a time when I clung tightly to a particular role I held within a community. At first, I felt proud of that role and the recognition that came with it. But over time, the more I clung to that identity, the more confined I felt. It wasn't until I let go of that attachment and accepted the impermanence of that position that I began to experience true peace. Holding on to the role had created a mental cage, and once I released it, I opened myself up to new possibilities and a deeper sense of fulfillment. This experience made me realize how attachment to any form of identity, whether it's a title, a role, or even a fixed idea of who we think we are, keeps us from fully living in the present moment. We trap ourselves in old definitions, unable to grow or evolve because we're so focused on maintaining what we've attached to. Letting go of these attachments doesn't mean rejecting what we have, but it means no longer allowing those things to define us. When we cling to success, possessions, or relationships, we unknowingly create anxiety because we are relying on these external factors for validation. But the more we rely on them for our sense of self, the more vulnerable we become to losing them. And when they eventually change or slip away, as they inevitably do, we are left with the emptiness of having invested too much in something transient. The fear of loss is a natural part of attachment, but it is also the source of much of our suffering. What Buddhism teaches us is that true peace and happiness come from loosening our grip, from letting go of the need to control and possess. By embracing the fluidity of life, we free ourselves from the chains of attachment. This doesn't mean that we stop loving or stop striving for success. It simply means that we approach these things with a sense of detachment, enjoying them fully while knowing that they are not ours to keep forever. Letting go opens up space for deeper connections, more authentic love, and a freedom from the constant anxiety of trying to control the uncontrollable. The fear of loss, a universal experience. We are all creatures of habit, and one of the most ingrained habits we develop is the fear of loss. This fear is not limited to one specific aspect of life. It extends across the spectrum of what we hold dear: our possessions, our relationships, our status, and even our own identities. It's a primal fear rooted deep within us, and it often dictates the way we live our lives. But this fear isn't just emotional, it's physical as well. The body responds to the threat of loss as though it is a real physical injury. When we lose something that holds value to us, whether it's something tangible or intangible, the discomfort we feel is a direct result of our attachment to that thing. Our minds interpret loss as a threat to our very survival, triggering a stress response that can sometimes feel overwhelming. Consider something as simple as losing a favorite pen. It may seem trivial, but the frustration and anxiety that arise in that moment are not about the pen itself. The pen, in essence, is not the issue. It's the brain's perception of ownership and the discomfort that arises when something we've claimed as ours is no longer within our grasp. This attachment to objects, to people, and to ideas creates an emotional tightness that grows stronger the more we try to hold on to them. This fear of loss extends far beyond the realm of material possessions. Take, for example, a luxury watch or an expensive car. When we first acquire such items, they often bring us a sense of pride, joy, and satisfaction. There's a certain thrill that comes with owning something valuable, something that symbolizes status or success. But over time, that initial joy can shift into something less pleasant. The joy of ownership transforms into anxiety as the fear of losing the item becomes more pronounced. We find ourselves constantly checking the watch, making sure it's still in its place, or fearing that it might get scratched. The very thing that was meant to bring happiness now becomes a source of stress and worry. This is the paradox of attachment. We think that by owning something, we gain control over it, and in turn, we believe that it will bring us lasting security and peace. But the truth is, the more we cling to something, the more fragile it becomes. The more we try to possess and control, the more we are at risk of suffering. This applies not only to physical objects but also to relationships and even our own identities. When we attach too strongly to any of these things, we become terrified of losing them. And this fear, which often manifests as anxiety or possessiveness, only makes them more difficult to enjoy. Buddhism teaches us that attachment, whether to objects, thoughts, or even people, is the root of suffering. The more we convince ourselves that we own something, the more deeply rooted our fear of losing it becomes. Think about it. When we identify so strongly with something, a possession, a relationship, or a role in society, we tie our sense of self-worth to it. When we think we own something, we start believing that we can control it. This illusion of control, however, comes with a heavy price. The tighter we cling to what we believe is ours, the more it holds power over us. This fear of loss infiltrates our daily lives, making us anxious, restless, and afraid. As the Buddha taught, the more tightly we cling to something, the more fragile it becomes. Just like holding a fragile object too tightly, the more we grasp, the more likely it is to break. This is not only true for physical possessions, but also for our relationships and identities. The Buddha's wisdom offers a path to peace through letting go of this tight grip. Instead of holding on, we are encouraged to loosen our attachment. By letting go of the need to possess or control, we free ourselves from the constant anxiety and fear that comes with the illusion of ownership. True peace, according to Buddhist teachings, lies in loosening our grip on what we think we own. By doing so, we begin to see the impermanent nature of all things. We begin to understand that nothing lasts forever, not our possessions, not our relationships, and not even our own identities. And by accepting this impermanence, we can free ourselves from the fear of loss. We can learn to enjoy life and its offerings without the burden of possessiveness, finding freedom and peace in the present moment. The role of impermanence in our lives. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence, the understanding that all things, including ourselves, are temporary. This principle is at the very heart of Buddhist philosophy. It teaches us that nothing in life, no matter how stable it may seem, is permanent. Everything, our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships, even our bodies, is constantly in flux. We are not static beings. We are always changing, evolving with each passing moment. Understanding this truth can be both unsettling and liberating, as it forces us to confront the reality of life's fleeting nature. Our thoughts are a perfect example of impermanence. Have you ever had a thought that consumed you at one point, only to fade away and be replaced by something else? Or perhaps a feeling of anger or joy that seemed all-encompassing one moment, yet gradually softened or disappeared over time. These mental states, as intense as they may feel in the moment, are never permanent. They rise and fall, change and shift, just as the seasons change, sometimes subtly and sometimes abruptly. The same applies to our physical bodies. We may try to preserve our youth, maintain our health, or control the aging process, but no matter how much we try to hold on to these aspects of ourselves, they too are impermanent. The body ages, changes, and eventually breaks down, no matter how carefully we tend to it. Understanding the impermanent nature of life helps us loosen our grip on the things we hold dear. When we realize that nothing is permanent, that everything we love is fleeting, we start to appreciate each moment for what it is. We stop grasping at the past, which we can never bring back, and we stop fearing the future, which is always uncertain. Instead, we begin to live more fully in the present, understanding that it is all we truly have. This realization can bring a sense of peace, as we stop attaching ourselves to the idea of permanence. We can enjoy the beauty and richness of life without the anxiety of trying to control it. The concept of impermanence also teaches us to approach life with greater openness and acceptance. When we stop trying to hold on to the past or to control the future, we become more adaptable to change. We learn to embrace the flow of life, knowing that change is inevitable and often beyond our control. Rather than resisting the ebb and flow, we can learn to ride it with grace and equanimity. For instance, if we experience a setback or loss, we can see it not as an insurmountable obstacle, but as part of the natural cycle of change. It's an opportunity for growth, reflection, and renewal, rather than something to fear or lament. This view of impermanence also extends to our relationships. Often, we cling to the people we love, afraid that they might change or slip away. We try to hold on to the relationships as they are, even when they evolve naturally over time. But when we recognize the impermanent nature of relationships, we understand that each person is also changing, growing, and becoming who they are meant to be. This doesn't mean we love them any less. Rather, it allows us to appreciate them in the moment, free from the anxiety of trying to make them remain the same. It frees us from the pressure of controlling the relationship and instead encourages us to nurture it with more acceptance and less attachment. In our pursuit of success, we often attach our identities to our achievements, our careers, or the roles we play in society. We may think that our success defines us, but this too is a misunderstanding of impermanence. The jobs we hold, the titles we wear, and the achievements we accumulate are all temporary. When we accept the transitory nature of success, we can let go of the need to cling to our past accomplishments. We can find joy in the journey, in the process of growth and learning, rather than in the destination or the title. This shift in perspective frees us from the burden of constantly trying to prove our worth and allows us to live more authentically. Understanding impermanence is not about rejecting life or withdrawing from the world. It's about seeing life clearly for what it is, a constantly changing flow of moments. Instead of resisting change, we can embrace it, knowing that each change brings new opportunities and experiences. This acceptance doesn't mean we stop striving or stop caring. Rather, it means we approach life with a sense of openness, humility, and a willingness to adapt to whatever comes our way. In this way, the understanding of impermanence doesn't lead to despair, but to a deeper appreciation for the beauty of the present moment and a greater capacity for peace amidst life's inevitable changes. A personal practice, releasing the grip. Here's a practice that I've personally found helpful and transformative. For one entire day, silently repeat the phrase, "This does not belong to me." It may sound simple, but it has a profound impact on how we interact with the world and our sense of attachment. When you pick up your phone, quietly say to yourself, "This does not belong to me." When you speak with someone you love, think, "This does not belong to me." Even when emotions arise, whether it's anger, joy, fear, or sadness, gently remind yourself, "This does not belong to me." At first, this practice might feel strange or uncomfortable. We are so used to thinking that everything in our lives belongs to us, from our physical possessions to the identities we create for ourselves and the relationships we form. To consciously challenge that belief feels unnatural because, for most of us, our sense of identity is deeply tied to what we own or what we believe we have control over. Our possessions, our roles, and our emotions have become extensions of ourselves. But when you engage in this practice, even in the beginning when it feels foreign, something remarkable begins to happen. The key to this practice lies in the constant reminder that nothing truly belongs to us. Not our possessions, not our relationships, and not even our thoughts or feelings. All of these things arise and pass away in the course of our lives, and by acknowledging that truth, we begin to loosen our grip on them. Instead of clinging tightly, we begin to accept the transient nature of all things. As you continue to repeat the phrase throughout your day, you may notice the subtle shift in your inner experience. The first change is often a softening of the fear that typically arises when we feel like we are about to lose something. Whether it's the thought of losing a loved one, a cherished possession, or even a moment of happiness, the fear of loss often keeps us locked in a state of anxiety. But as you remind yourself that nothing truly belongs to you, that fear begins to soften. You realize that your attachment to outcomes, to people, or to material things only creates resistance and suffering. When you release the need to control these aspects of your life, you invite peace and calm. The second change is the loosening of anxiety. We tend to hold on tightly to things we think we own because we fear the void that might be left if we lose them. But when we adopt this mindset of impermanence, that nothing is ours to keep, we begin to feel less anxious. This isn't about detaching from life or becoming indifferent to what we love. Rather, it's about understanding that clinging to something only causes tension and unease. When we stop gripping tightly, we open ourselves to the natural flow of life, and in doing so, we experience a deep sense of relief. As you move through your day, you may also notice a sense of lightness emerging. The weight that comes from trying to control everything, from fearing loss to clinging to identities or possessions, begins to lift. This lightness is not about becoming detached from life. It's about engaging with life without the burden of ownership. You can still care deeply for your loved ones, still cherish your possessions, and still strive for success. The difference lies in how you relate to these things. When you let go of the need to own them or control them, you free yourself from the anxiety that comes with attachment. This practice is deeply rooted in the Buddhist concept of non-attachment, which is not about renouncing the world or becoming cold and distant. Instead, it's about recognizing the impermanent nature of everything around us and understanding that nothing, in the ultimate sense, belongs to us. By recognizing this truth, that we cannot hold on to anything forever, we begin to experience a profound sense of peace and freedom. The more you practice this throughout the day, the more you will start to notice that your attachment to outcomes, to people, and to possessions becomes less rigid. You begin to move through life with a sense of ease, knowing that whatever happens, you are not bound by the need to control it. The less we try to possess, the more we are able to experience life as it is, free, ever-changing, and beautiful. It is not about withdrawing from the world or neglecting our responsibilities. Instead, it is about releasing the grip of attachment so that we can engage more fully with life, with less fear and more openness. We learn to love without the need to possess, to care without the anxiety of loss, and to live in the present moment without the heavy weight of control. The practice of releasing the grip is a path to true freedom. Freedom from the fear of loss and the anxiety of attachment, and a deeper connection to the peace that comes from accepting the impermanent nature of all things. So, we've just explored the profound truths about impermanence and letting go. I hope these insights have helped you see how we can live with more freedom and peace, releasing the fear of loss and unnecessary attachments. If you found this video valuable, please don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on future content. Also, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. We truly appreciate your input, and it helps us continue to create content that's valuable to you. Thank you for being a part of Stillness Unfolded. Wishing you a peaceful and serene day ahead.